describe to me the circumstances under which you began working for the FBI? How old you were?
It was in probably 1967. I was with a guy one night, a friend of mine, and we were drinking beer, and we decided to go joyride. And we jumped in a car and stole it. And we were driving around the city of Chicago for 45 minutes and decided to leave the state to go visit a relative in another state. And we had an accident out of state. And prior to the accident, we had walked in a pool hall and was shooting pool. And at the door, you had to register your phone number and address. And we wrote down our names and phone numbers, then went in and shot a game of pool, and then came out and had an accident. And we fled the accident on foot. Messed around in the city a while, and then caught a bus back to Chicago. And about 3-4 months later, I got a call from this FBI agent by the name of Roy Mitchell. And he told me that he knew what I had done. And we went around a couple of times, and he said something like, well, you know, there's no need in you trying to bullshit me. I know you did it, but it's no big thing. He said, I'm sure we can work it out. And I think a few months passed before I heard from him again. And one day I got a call, and he told me that it was payback time. He said that I want you to go and see if you can join the Black Panther Party, and if you can, give me a call.
Can I just interrupt and have
Yeah.
you start that part about joining the Panther Party? But tell me again how old you were and that it was not he, but that it was an FBI agent?
I think I was about 18, 19 years old. And the FBI agent's name was Roy Mitchell. And he called me up on the phone and recanted the crime, pretty much. I tried to deny it, but he had the evidence, and he said basically it was no problem, that we could work it out, that I wasn't in any serious problems that he couldn't deal with. And a few months, 3 months maybe passed before he asked me to join the Black Panther Party.
Now, what did Mitchell ask you to do?
Well, he didn't give me any specific instructions at that point. He just said,
Can you say instead of he?
Roy said basically, just go and see if you can join the Black Panther Party. I understand they're recruiting Panther members. So why don't you go down to the office and see if you can join. If you get in, give me a call back. So the next day, I got on the bus and went down to the office of the Black Panther Party. It was located on Western and Madison. And walked in the office, about 3 or 4 Panthers in the office. And I think I was about the 5th member in the Chicago chapter to join. They had this big office building on this, and up on the 2nd floor they had about 5 or 6 offices. And very little personnel to run things, so positions, it was easy to get a position. So they appointed me as a security captain. That was the first time I met Fred Hampton, and he was the chairman, the spokesman for the party, and Bobby Rush was the Minister of Defense. He was Huey P. Newton's deputy, which was the top man in the state of Illinois at that time.
What did you think about the Panthers at that time? What framework did you understand them in? What did you thought about the civil rights movement? How did they fit into your understanding of politics and
I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, and I had very little idea of I was apolitical. The Panthers I had heard of only from a recent article, I think, that had occurred in the paper. Huey P. Newton had just been in a shootout with the Oakland Police Department, and one of them had died, and there was a lot of press about that. But prior to the articles I had read about Huey P. Newton, I knew nothing of the Black Panther Party. In fact, the day I joined, I was pretty sure it was just another gang, unlike not unlike the Blackstone Rangers or the Cobras or something. I had no idea of anything about their politics.
What did you begin to learn as you did join, and what kind of information were you able to give back to Mitchell?
Well, almost immediately after I joined the Panthers, probably within 10 days, I began to realize that the Black Panther Party was a little bit more sophisticated than a gang. The orientation process, the attention they gave to the political climate around the country had me going there for a while. And at one point, well,
and also if you can look at me.
yeah, okay. They had, I think the first set of reference books I saw inside the Black Panther Party was the selected works of Mao Zedong, which I had begun to associate with communism. And it wasn't too long thereafter that I started seeing books like the Manifesto, the Communist Manifesto of Karl Marx, and then the collected works of Lenin. And every night after the office would close, the Panthers would sit down and they would study these books. We'd go to political orientation. We would read certain paragraphs, and then Fred Hampton and Rush would explain to us, the new membership, basically what it meant and what was happening, and they drew parallels to what was going on in the past revolutions in the various countries, like, for instance, China or Russia, and it was drawing parallels to what was going on in the current political scene within the United States. So they were drawing associations between the revolutions in the communist countries, as I understood it, as to what was happening in the United States, and so I understood them to be a little bit more sophisticated than a gang. I expected that it would be weapons and we would be out there doing turf battles with the local gang members, but they weren't about that at all. They were into the political scene, the war in Vietnam, Richard Nixon, and specifically freeing Huey. Yeah, that was the thing.
Now you would, I assume, report this information back to Mitchell. Did he have a response? Did he react to this?
Well, initially, Agent Mitchell requested very little information from me. It was a one-way street for probably about 6 months. I think he was, in every meeting that I had with him, he listened more than he asked questions. The typical meeting would be, okay, what are they doing today? And then I would just tell him what was going on around the office in general conversation. He said, okay, and what are you doing? And then I'd tell him what I was doing, and then he'd make mental notes. Sometimes he took shorthand notes, and then we'd depart. He said, okay, just keep me informed. And so we had a very loose relationship at that point because the Panthers weren't too active militarily. Okay, they were politically organizing at that point. They were recruiting. At that point, the Panthers were trying to, well, they had speaking engagements at the different colleges and so forth. So we were in an organizing process. And there was very little criminal activity as I could determine what was going on. Very little to report to the FBI, in my mind, because I felt like since the FBI was an investigative body investigating federal crimes, that crimes were what they were looking at. And so,
tell me a little bit about how you felt about working for the FBI. What motivated you, and what what ends you thought you were serving?
Well, in my community, the policemen were, it was the quickest way to gain respect. I think I grew up wanting to be a policeman, admiring and respecting policemen, although I always thought it was outside of my reach. My neighborhood was not unlike most people that grow up in Chicago. Most young people, we were very mischievous and did a lot of juvenile type petty criminal type things, but stealing a car and all of a sudden having the FBI, having a case with the FBI, the thought of having really going to jail got my attention. And so when he asked me to join the Black Panther Party, and he used terms, he never used the word informant. He always said, "You're working for me." And I associated him as the FBI. So all of a sudden, I was working for the FBI, which in my mind at that point, I associated with being an FBI agent. So I felt good about it. I felt like I was working undercover for the FBI, doing something good for the finest police organization in America. And so I was pretty proud.
Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Professor Carl Tone Jones, affectionately known as PC, is here. Pat not here because he's sick. So y'all send y'all vibes to Pat, the healing vibes to Pat, so he can get better. Be back next week. He got some boogers in his nose. He got to get them out. But you know, it's Friday. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, get in that comment section. We know y'all gonna talk. We know we got a lot to talk about. So this is a video of, if you don't know, this is a video of William O'Neal, and William O'Neal was the informant of the Black Panthers who basically helped to bring down Fred Hampton. And we got to hear William O'Neal talk about his experience. You know, it's not secondhand information, it's him. And, you know, we're exploring and breaking down the anatomy or the psychology of a sellout. So, because how he ended it versus how it began, right? But just listening to everything that William O'Neal said, like, you know, let's get funky on this piece. Let's get fun. We got to get into this. Throw out all the pleasantries and stuff. Hey, don't worry about stuff. I can bleep stuff out. Hey, man, look here. So, so it started with he and his friends doing petty crimes, and they got caught doing petty crimes by the police, and they really didn't do anything because they had it in their mind that they're going to use these cats as undercover pieces to infiltrate the Black Panthers. So when it was time for all of that to happen, he came to him like, hey, basically, look, I got all these crimes you did. You want to go to jail or you want to work for me? Then, because what he's saying, the FBI agent told him that you work for me, but then in his mind, he worked for the FBI. So they're using all of the crimes that he did to as the leverage against him, say, either work with us or you go to prison, basically. So like, I'm gonna work with you. But then him describing the relationship, it makes sense for what he was saying, how he was saying how loose the relationship was between him and the FBI agent, and how it was mostly one-sided of the agent just asking one question and him just spilling all the beans. But that come from, like he said, he really felt as if he worked for the FBI, but also was kind of conflicting. It was not kind of, it is conflicting. It's the anatomy, the psychology of a sellout. It's the cognitive dissonance, because he's talking about how in joining the organization and being exposed to the information that the organization was learning about and was teaching, he could see that it was not a criminal organization, because that's what he said. But yet, because you feel like you work for the FBI, you still got to go in and infiltrate. Yeah, he didn't use the word infiltrate, but that's what you did. You infiltrated. He infiltrated this. He infiltrated the Black Panthers, and he basically sound like he's basically saying he did more than what he was asked to do because of that badge of honor that it gave him to work for the white man. Yeah. Hey, that's why I say if you build it, you must protect it, and you got to have the William O'Neal rule. And that, I know he ain't the first sellout, but he's one of the most prominent. You got to have the William O'Neal rule to be able to protect yourself from infiltration, because he also kind of, to me, he talks about how easy it was to get a part, because he didn't express that it was any difficulty to become a part of the organization. So, you know, what are your thoughts? Go in.
You know, I just finished watching, well, not today, but last week, the season finale for the third season of The Godfather of Harlem. And I'm not going to give any spoilers out, but just it just brings us right here to talk about like I said, the anatomy of a sellout. And it reminds me of a conversation I had with a brother years ago. Where he said, basically, I live in North Philly. More specifically, I live in Erie Ave, right? And he was talking about, he said, you know, it wouldn't be anything for one of these outfits, agencies, government agencies, or criminal enterprises to give somebody $1,500 for them to pop my top off, you know, and they could live in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
We have to understand that the majority of the Black community does not care about what a progressive outfit or progressive agency or organization like the Panthers are doing, because most of them could really care less about the politics of it all. Even he acknowledged he didn't understand the politics of it all. A lot of times, yeah. So a lot of times, these guys, and criminals included, they come from two-parent households, middle-class upbringings. If you do your research in terms of like the biggest drug dealers, the biggest criminal enterprises, specifically in the Black community, most of the leaders would say, I didn't have a rough upbringing. I just had too much free time. And I was out there. I wanted to be out there with the street dudes who were doing things. That's what this dude was.
Yeah. A pretender, you know, Ja Morant.
Right. Yeah, he was a pretender. But to go back to what you said earlier, he easily, first of all, he wasn't a criminal. And I'm pretty sure the FBI knew that.
That's why they could use him.
Right.
He was scared to go to jail.
Right. He was weak already. He wasn't about that life.
Right.
Because to even a street dude, that cooperating with law enforcement is tantamount to being a snitch. So they would rather do the time because their reputation, yeah. So what happens with these types of guys, they're the easiest ones to flip. And because they don't have any ties into the community, they weren't brought up in the culture, they don't have any problem with what we would consider betrayal. In fact, I don't even call it betrayal at this particular time because he was never one of them. You know what I'm saying?
They're not codified.
Right. And so let's get to the security aspect of it all. And this is why it says it brings me to the last episode of The Godfather of Harlem. And like I said, I don't want to give any spoilers, but Malcolm needed better security. He deserved better security, even if he didn't ask for it. Sometimes your job as security for powerful people, for people who can make a difference and make a change, those charismatic leaders, sometimes you have to go above and beyond to make sure they're protected. That means you vet who you bring in. That means there's a process that you bring when you bring somebody in. That means you put people through the rigors to make sure that they're on the level. Now, will some people get past that? Yes. But a weak person, a weak ninja like this dude right here, possibly would have folded before getting to the point where he was able to infiltrate and get close in. And I know people, we both know elders that were in the Panther Party. and I know elders that were in the Chicago branch of the Panther Party working directly with Fred Hampton. And they were stating, you know, and he even stated it was extremely easy to join the Panther Party at that time because the Panthers identified the political struggle. That's what they
Yeah,
identified with.
He did say that they were more on a political spectrum than a military spectrum. He did say that.
Yeah, they switched it up. At first, the Panthers were race-based, patrolling police officers, police brutality, things of that nature. But as they began to organize more, they wanted to identify with the international proletariat struggle. So they became more political. And therefore, they started bringing in more members. And at that particular time, they didn't understand that the Operation COINTELPRO was in full effect and that they were being infiltrated the same way Malcolm was being infiltrated, the same way Martin Luther King's organization, SLIC, was being infiltrated. All these particular groups were being infiltrated. They didn't recognize that. And so they weren't prepared for the betrayal that took place.
So that's why, okay, two things for me. One, we need to, that's why I'm saying entitling the anatomy of a sellout. We need to understand the anatomy and the psychology of a sellout. But also we need to learn from the past and use the information. If you build it, you must protect it. So looking at William O'Neal, like we said, petty thief, really a good dude, came from a two-parent home trying to be down, gets caught up with the wrong crowd, gets a case hung over his head, and now is forced to do something that he normally wouldn't do, but he's put in this situation. It's his freedom or selling out. Of course, he gonna choose selling out because he don't want to give up his freedom. Now he gets into this organization, sees the organization isn't a bad organization, but continues to do the stuff because of the case hung over his head. Now he could have made the choice to say, you know what, I'm gonna just be a G and take mine. But instead, nah, I'm gonna go ahead and continue to infiltrate the organization to the point to where the deletion of Fred Hampton, and years after this interview, he deleted himself because in the back of his mind, he knew what he was doing was wrong because he said it himself. Once again, he said it himself from his analysis, being in the organization, they weren't doing nothing wrong.
Well, I don't necessarily think that at that particular time that he thought he was doing anything wrong.
Right, like exactly.
Before, and I don't think he was forced to anything. He made a conscious choice. He made a conscious decision to join the FBI, well, to become an informant for the FBI and to become, what do they call them? An asset, right? Because he didn't work for him. He didn't fill out an application. He was just an asset for the FBI.
But what he's telling himself that shit to make himself feel better. Because I do agree. He got to a point to where it wasn't something that he really cared about. Like, I'm doing something wrong. But in the beginning, after the initial analysis, he knew he was doing something wrong. So he had to convince himself, all right, I'm working for the FBI. I'm working for the FBI. He's telling himself he's working for the FBI. So he convinced himself now that he's not doing nothing wrong. So he can get to the point to where he really believes he ain't doing nothing wrong. So he can continue doing the bull he doing.
Well, it's like approximate the proxies, right? The being white adjacent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Being a part of the FBI, he already said he had grown up wanting to be a police officer. Right. And I don't know anybody, even back then, black that didn't look now suburban Negroes, that's a different story because a lot of Negroes moved to the suburbs to get away from the common everyday black person. So yeah, that was one of the things I picked up on right away. And that interview, by the way, I believe that was part of if I'm not mistaken, was that part of the Eyes on the Prize series? If I recall,
I don't remember. I don't even want to lie, I don't remember.
So because I do know that, and the irony of this all is that he was so proud to go work for the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover, and then when the second edition of Eyes on the Prize. He was sitting in the living room watching. He was the one being interviewed on the second edition of Eyes on the Prize, because the first one was featuring Martin Luther King. The second one was talking about the Panther movement and things of that nature, and other Black nationalist outfits. And he saw his interview, and his uncle said he just got up, walked out of the apartment, and walked on to, get this now, J. Edgar Hoover Highway, where he was struck by a truck. And like you said, self-deletion. The irony is that he felt like working for the FBI gave him life, selling out his people gave him life. And then to see it presented to himself, it's almost like you say, you know, the cognitive dissonance. It's almost like that moment where Get Out, you know, the movie Get Out, where somebody put a flash in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing himself on that screen was a flash. Like, this is who you really are. This is the sellout who you are. This is the coward of who you are. You can't hide from this anymore. This is your conscience speaking to you. And so, you know, a coward lives, a coward dies the same way a coward lived, in total denial of who he was. And so, so I don't say he's a betrayer to the Panthers, because he was never truly a part of the Panthers. He infiltrated the Panthers. But I will say he is a betrayer to Black people. He is a betrayer to Fred Hampton, for whom he befriended. He was a betrayer to anybody that trusted him in that particular time, that he gained their trust. He was a betrayer to them. And he was also a betrayer to anything prolific about Black people. He betrayed all those different things. And so when we look at this, we have, like you said, and we and address the anatomy of it. These types of people have certain traits about them. They come out of nowhere. They're overly enthusiastic. They try to climb to the top. You see them they're up late at night. They try to get close to the power makers, the power players, the real players. They try to get close to them. Like you said, we got to learn from this. It's not just to be revered. We have to learn we have to learn about the steps progressively. And forget all that. There are certain places that need lockdown security. What I mean by that you have a circle that nobody else gets into. Everybody else is on the outside. Kind of like the mafia used to be.
But see, well, you want to know what though? Because like Dr. Wilson is talking about unified field theory, everything is connected. Everything pertaining to the system of white supremacy is connected, and everything pertaining to Black liberation is connected. So, yes, we need better security. We need more lockdown stuff. We got to do better. But on the main issues right now, let's just be real, looking at where we are in 2023. I ain't gonna say, well, it's too many of us don't want families, but we can't maintain families. We can't secure our families.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't secure our families, we damn sure not gonna secure these social organizations or these civil political organizations who are fighting for our rights. We're not going to be able to secure those organizations because, hell, we're not securing ourselves. We're not securing our families. Everything is connected. If we can't unify man, woman, and child, we're not going to be able to unify as a community. And we need to be real about it and understand how everything goes together. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we keep up the bullshit, even us is conscious ones, us supposed to be the smart ones, us supposed to be the successful ones, us supposed to be the ones to know better, but no results.
Well, I'm gonna tell you why there's no results, Joe. And it goes back to what you said, but there's no integrity in the Black community as this time. Even though we say the Black community, we're not really a Black community.
Yeah, we're just Black people in America.
Yeah, right. We're a collection of black people who happen to occupy the same spaces and areas and neighborhoods. So the being cohesive, you got to have principles about you. Now, many people know I've left organizations because they don't have principles about them. They allow people to commingle. They don't have a culture of honor and integrity. And therefore, shit, there are people within those organizations who are chummy enough with the opposition. They don't have a problem even making those types of phone calls.
But if you have a degrading culture, you will produce more people who are sellouts, who have no principles, and who are willing to sell out and give up their community for their own gain. You're gonna have more William O'Neills and more William Meta O'Neills out there for the women's too. You're gonna have more people like him who are produced in a culture that's degrading, in a culture that's selfish, in a culture that regular individualism runs our culture. He's the norm now. Look at First 48. Let's just be real. Put some pressure on these cats. Think about it. The hardest cats.
A bucket of chicken and a damn soft drink.
Everybody know First 48 in the beginning. They be talking big talk. When they come back and they eating food,
it's over.
Oh yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? It's little CeeLo, but the anatomy of a sellout, like that's the norm. Like think about. Oh, this shit is crazy. Look, bruh, we make jokes about the modern day William O'Neills, even though these cats are talking snitching on criminal enterprises and stuff like that, and I ain't really mad at that, but it's still the anatomy of the sellout is there, the psychology of the sellout is there. These are the same people. Remember he was a petty criminal. Well, he was a good cat who became a petty criminal trying to fit in with the crowd. So imagine people with more to lose than him. It's all connected. It's all connected. Damn. We really got to look at that. We really got to think. We really got to think about what was just said. Like think about what was just said. We have a culture that creates sellouts.
We're going to have to create those critical mass, those small groups of community, those small concentrations of community. And we also have to cut our losses. You see, most people don't want to have to sacrifice the people who actually destroy the integrity of what their work is. We don't
be your favorite speaker.
There's a lack of backbone. Because we can go back to the Panthers. There was a time in certain sects of the Panthers that if they found out or they thought somebody was, compromised, they had some methods for that.
Treason is the norm for us.
Yeah, treason. Well, yeah. But if you ask anybody about who they're loyal to now, there's nothing. They don't feel as though there's anything to be loyal to. And then so it's like you said, what Dr. Wilson said. All this is connected. If you don't have anything, any future for them to look to, anything that makes them loyal, that makes them want to be loyal, everybody's out for themselves.
But how do you be loyal when you have no roots?
Then there you go.
But also, if you know you have no roots, you got to get your ass out there and grow them.
Yeah. But at the same time, we're still being warred on. See, it's not like it's not like we're just here in a bubble and we're going to be allowed to manifest this. We are fighting a propaganda war against ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And so we have to change the narrative. One of the great things about your channel is it changes the narrative. The On the Shoulders of Giants gives a great historical account of Black people who stood up and black people who were fighters, and
Despite
black
the
people who were
odds.
liberators, and black people who were on code. And so building that, spreading that type of word, is it just enough for one channel? No, but it's a start. And then finding like-minded people who also have integrity, not just because you like them, but because they're building and you see that their integrity that doesn't allow them to be compromised. And so that's one of the things we have to deal with, is the fact that we have too many people who just don't care about us being compromised. And so we have to overcome that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that we use the word loyalty. Black people use the word loyalty. It's just a word now, because there's no action behind it. We don't really understand what that truly is. But it's the system of white supremacy is designed for white survival and for white domination to continue. Everything they do is designed for them to continue. And if we are their greatest threat, which we are, everything they do will, like you said, we are at war. We are at war. But what I've learned from all the years that I've been gathering these stories about the sung and unsung heroes of the African diaspora, despite the continued war, despite all of that, those who wanted better did what they needed to do to get better. And yes, some had to die for it. Yes, some had to. There's some sacrifices that have to be made. Some of us are going to have to make those sacrifices, but it's for a better future.
Yeah. So, and that's where we're at. The sacrifice. What are we willing to give up? What are we willing? Who are we willing to give up to build that, to come to that place? Because, like you said, one of the things that I'm gonna switch up a little bit, go back to something else you said. We live in a system of white supremacy. It's a very sophisticated system. As the Jagna to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Elder Neely Fuller often said, if you don't understand white supremacy, what it does and how it works, then everything else you do only serves to confuse you. We gotta be more diligent about teaching our children, our babies, about white supremacy and fighting off the propaganda of their niggerish parents, of the Negroes that influence them, that keep them, that will build, literally are the manufacturing plants for more William O'Neills.
Look, we manufacture,
because if you say I ain't that black shit, that's the plant you just see. That's the seed you just planted.
Right.
If you say I ain't with this black-ish, oh, y'all go ahead with that over there. If you are one of those compromised Negroes, if you're one of those sellout Negroes who want to join the ranks, who feel like William O'Neill, right? That being white adjacent makes you feel like you're part of the establishment, until you get to a point where you yourself are, figuratively speaking, walking on out to J. Edgar Hoover Highway looking for a nice truck to catch. You know what I'm saying? So that's the fight. The fight is for the babies right now. When you look at the academics and what's taking place in the kindergartens and the preschools and what they're doing, that's the fight, because that's where they're headed. That's one of the places that we have to go, while simultaneously building up institutions so that we can have a foundation for them once they become of age to be the leaders we need them to be.
Right. I mean, it's going to have to be done but it's imperative that we understand what we're up against. And that's one of the things I was covering in I think, yeah, it was. I believe it was chapter 24 or 25 of the ISIS papers in the video that just dropped on Monday, and Dr. Wilson was talking about understanding the game that you're playing. So I'm gonna say it. I've said it before. I'm gonna say it again. So, because she used the analogy of chess, the white pieces against the black pieces. The white pieces will always dominate the black pieces as long as the black pieces never, if the black pieces don't take the time to understand the game of chess and then understand the white pieces, they will never win. But not only have we not taken the time to understand white people, we haven't taken the time to understand white supremacy racism. So my analogy once again is we are at the chessboard. I wish I had some Uno cards. With Uno cards in our hands, turned backwards and wondering why what we're doing isn't working.
Yeah, well, I'll give you one we can use. We're at the chessboard playing rock, paper, scissors.
Right.
Rock, paper, rock, paper, scissors.
And it's chess because we don't understand the game that we're playing, and we want to make up rules to make us feel good about the game that's going. We're playing this game whether we want to or not.
And the most ignorant shit about it is that when you talk to Negroes, they want to have this authority about the information they're spewing, even if it's just from raw emotions and feelings with no facts attached to it. No historical context, no ideology. They don't even know, they don't know the historiography or the history behind it, but they'll argue and debate you down. And then when they can't win, you see, it's all about winning those eggplant measuring contests, right? So when they can't win that argument, then they go to the insults. Then they want to know how much money do you make, because we, at some point or another, gotta find a way to knock you off your rocker, knock you down a few pegs, because you're being uppity now. And that was the issue for white folk, but it's really an issue for Negroes who are comfortable with somebody's foot on their back. It's funny that we're talking about this because I had an analogy earlier about the George Floyd thing. And not an analogy, but an epiphany. And one of the things I said, one of the reasons so many people felt that is because for years we've been saying the white man has had his foot on our back, a foot on our neck. And then we literally got to watch a white man kill a black man with his knee on his neck. And so that we saw that literally in real time, but then people's subconscious, people got rocked out of their cognitive dissonance because they saw that figuratively in their day-to-day lives. Now, for people, brothers like you and me, we saw it, we recognized it, but we're the ones that push the foot off our neck. We're the ones fighting. Now, every day they're trying to put the foot back on. So it's a constant fight. We're the ones willing to fight. We got to consistently fight the Negroes that are comfortable, found a way to turn it or wedge their body enough to get a little few sips of air in there. So now they feel they can survive in that manner with the white man on his neck. And they're afraid. Well, I won't even say they're afraid at this point.
Yeah, they are.
They're too stubborn to acknowledge that they themselves are too cowardly to remove the foot off of their necks.
I would say afraid and stubborn, and I would say afraid because you can only control how you internalize information and respond to it. So when I first learned about William O'Neill, my initial thought was, how do we prevent this from happening again? Because I first learned about William O'Neill, I probably was in college. So my first thought was, how do we prevent this from happening again? But also, we do know that part of the J. Edgar Hoover plan of stopping the Black Messiah was to elicit, well, that's the wrong word, was to instill fear. Was to instill fear in the black people, the same as when they would do the butt breaking, take the big black slave and, terrorize the big black strong slave in front of everybody to send a message. It's the same thing. Hey, we're going to assassinate your leaders publicly, do the public lynchings so we can instill fear. Same thing as lynching black men from the trees and burning them and castrating them in public. They did the public displays of terrorism to put fear, to instill fear in the hearts and minds of Black people. Fear is a disease that rots the body, mind, and soul. If you entertain fear, I didn't say if you have fear, I said if you entertain fear, if you allow fear to grow, it will rot your mind, body, and soul. And too many of us are afraid of the sacrifice. That's why William O'Neill's can exist, because if you are not afraid of the sacrifice, William O'Neill can't exist, because he would have went to jail.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that.
Let me just say this too, real quick. But remember, he wasn't really making no sacrifice, because he was going to go to jail for the stuff that he did.
Yeah. So, and I'm glad you use fear. That's a real important thing. Because that's real. They've understood that Black people respond to fear more than any other thing, more than any other emotion. You know, go back to your chessboard analysis. If you know you're playing chess with somebody, if a chessboard can evoke fear, then the biggest piece on the board that evokes fear is the queen. The queen. If you see somebody moving and maneuvering their queen, automatically your antennas go up.
Oh, we going somewhere.
Oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at the way they maneuver their queen, it's like a balance of give and take. So I'm gonna threaten you with the queen. Threaten you with the queen on the board. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the chess piece queen. I ain't talking about the she devil. I'm talking about chess or the queen. And so, but here I'm offer you a get out of jail free card on there. I'm gonna offer you a way out. As long as you move the way I won't even move the queen on the board. But the bottom line, but what we're seeing is, and that was William O'Neill. William O'Neill thought he was just, he could, play hopscotch on the battlefield that we call chessboard. And what happened was they pulled out the queen on him. He got caught. He was in a trap, and they gave him a way out. And they say, as long as you do these things, we're going to give you a way out. And instead of facing the queen, instead of facing his fear.
Well, yeah, facing the consequences of his actions.
Because that's how you get you. His actions. That's what started the dominoes falling. And let's go back to parenting. We talked about parenting in the household, being accountable and responsible. That's why 2-parent households aren't always the answer. Yes, they're beneficial and they help, but a lot of times in 2-parent households, the children are punks, the children are spoiled, the children are brats. They get what they want. Their parents get them out of trouble, and they never have to be responsible, never have to be accountable. And then they go on to be the biggest sellouts ever, because they think that they're invincible until they get into a space where their mortality is revealed to them. And then they have to kowtow to whomever is threatening them with the queen piece on the chessboard.
Look, there's going to be constant barrages, constant assaults, constant attacks, because they just like the white chess pieces on the chessboard, they make the first move. They make the initial assault. We have to understand that and defend ourselves, but also learn to go on the offense, because we got our stuff together, right? William O'Neills are going to exist in abundance nowadays. We have to be cognizant of that. So we're facing assaults from every angle. And this is when it comes to us building what we need to build, because at the end of the day, they are still afraid of the rise of the Black Messiah at the end of the day. Now, right now, I don't believe that they see any of us as a threat. Even your more popular ones, they're popular not for being a threat, but usually for being funny. You know, you know. But once again, that's the system though. At the end of the day, it's the root. It's the root cause. It's the system. It's the root cause. Now that doesn't take away personal responsibility and personal decisions that people have made, but it is what it is, right? Because like the young lady told you, ain't no money in nation building, right? I'm gonna keep saying that. I'm gonna keep saying that because that's William O'Neill mindset folk right there. Those are people who, because think about this. If you're not doing whatever you're doing, if it's not helping to move toward Black nation building, the Black liberation, you're only moving us toward white supremacy. So you're more of an active participant in the system of white supremacy than an active participant in Black liberation.
And take that back to the chessboard. So now you got black pieces on the chessboard doing the bidding of the white pieces on the chessboard.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's why we do these breakdowns so we can better understand the information that we have. And so, moving forward, I was thinking about this, and that was why I'm glad I found this video. We're gonna be breaking down a whole lot more information because I'm looking at all 9 areas of human activity and even beyond that. Just any information, any videos, any clips, anything I can get my hands on that I feel will be essential for us to understand who we're dealing with in white supremacy and understand the system of white supremacy racism. Understand the people and understand the system, but also all the other information I'm giving is for us to understand ourselves. The videos that I post every Wednesday, there's a clue in every video that I post. I've been doing this since 2014. I learned something from every person that I posted. Every video of every song and unsung hero, there's a clue, there's a breadcrumb in every video. Everybody has done something that adds a piece to it. Every breakdown that we do, every video, every scholar, even this William O'Neill. William O'Neill is a piece of the puzzle of how we should be able to protect ourselves. Dr. John Henry Clark said, study everything. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to study and break down everything because we need to be as well informed as possible.
And I think you do a great job too, because little by little we're deconstructing the idiosyncrasies of white supremacy. And we tell people every day, get to them while they're young.
Yeah.
But you got to be in your right mindset too when you get to them. You know what I'm saying? Get to these young people, and if you want to change and you want something simple to do to change, show these young people some love. Show them some grace. Show them some patience. Inspire them. Give them a little bit of hope to anything. Whether you see them on the street, you speak to them. Say hi. I can't tell you how disconnected our community is right now. And I say we use it as a loose term, but we want to talk it into existence. We need to build it, and it starts with something as simple as a hello, a smile, something we hate doing to one another. Let's get past this internalized self-hatred that we have, so that we're out there and spewing our inner feelings as they spill over into the real world.
And stop having babies and you're not married. Stop having babies and you're not married. Stop linking up with people that you shouldn't be linking up with. If you get married for the foundation should be nation building and the fight against the system of white supremacy. That should be the foundation of the marriage. Then build it upon that. Get married and stay married. These are things that are going to help us get to where we need to go. Stop talking about, I don't like white supremacy. I don't like racism. Stop talking about all that. But then you keep perpetuating the system of white supremacy because you keep male or female, you keep making babies and not being married to the people you're making babies with. You keep breaking up your families. You keep doing dumb stuff. Anything destructive that you're doing to yourself, your family, and the community, you're helping the system of white supremacy. That's all we're gonna say it like that. The anatomy and the psychology of a sellout goes deeper than y'all thought, didn't you?
Mhm.
It's more than one William O'Neill out here. And sometimes the William O'Neill don't look like the typical William O'Neill. Now chew on that. Breakdown Friday. This is how we do it. Joseph Ward, PC, Professor Carl Tone Jones, FetLifeStation.com, FetLifeStation.com every Friday at 7. Make sure you check them out. Y'all send the healing vibes to Pat because he's sick. So Pat, man, get back, get healthy so you can get back and rocking with us. Like this video, comment, share, getting them subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Make sure you catch the next video coming up because it's fire too. Love y'all. Peace out.